Building aura as a short guy is going to take you very, very far in life, okay? And when I talk about aura, I'm talking about the kind of energy where people forget about your height and all they can see is your presence. All they can feel is your presence in whatever room you step in whatever environment you're in. And there's very simple steps to do this. It's not easy. You're gonna have to work a little bit. You're gonna have to work hard just like anybody else. But the rules are simple. The steps are simple. All right, and I'm speaking from experience myself. When I was in high school and middle school, I was probably one of the most insecure people you would have met. I was wearing multiple layers of clothing in the summer. I was wearing elevated insoles in my shoes to give me a few extra inches. I wouldn't talk to girls. Super, super insecure, right? I get nervous around them. I get flustered easily. Walking with my head down all the time, not looking anybody in the eye. To today, I'm the complete opposite of that, complete 180 from that version of myself that I was back then. And that's simply because I followed these exact steps that I'm about to give you. All right, and I'm not a special guy. I don't have superpowers. I'm not a superhero. I just learned things that I needed to know to better my life experience. I implemented those things, and then I got the outcome of of implementing those actions, right? That's all life is implementing certain actions and getting an output as a reaction, right? Very simple. So the first thing that you want to do, first of all, you can start doing this today, all right? You don't need to wait. You don't need to buy anything. This is free. This is completely free, okay? And you're gonna feel a lot better just doing it off the rip. It might take you a few practice runs and a few days and maybe weeks to get used to it. But once you get it down, you're gonna feel a lot better about yourself. And that's walking with your chest up, your chin up, your shoulders back, walking with purpose, not nervousness, not hesitation, walking, looking at your destination and walking to your destination wherever you go, all right? I don't mean walk like a robot. You don't have to walk like a robot, right? You can walk with a little bit of swag. But keeping your head up, your chin up, not looking at the ground when you're walking past somebody, looking at them and then immediately looking away like a weirdo, right? If you walk past somebody, look at them in the eye, maintain eye contact, maintain that level of confidence, and you'll see that people will start to gravitate towards you, right? Because when you're walking and you're looking down and you're fidgeting and you're walking super fast, like you don't know where you're going, but you're trying to get somewhere, but you just don't know where that somewhere is, people can sense that nervous energy on you, and they're not gonna wanna be attracted to you, right? You wanna build that presence. This guy knows where he wants to go, he knows how to get there, and he's gonna get there, regardless of what's in his way, all right? I know that may sound a little bit extreme, but that's just what you need to do in order to exude confidence from yourself, exude that masculine, positive aura, right? It's walking with a purpose, walking with your chest up, shoulders down and back. Think about it yourself, right? If you're walking past somebody and you see them put their head down or they don't look like they know where they're going, you kind of get a little bit nervous to be around them, right? Because you're like, man, I don't know what this person's gonna do. They might do something to me. Like you just don't know, their energy is scrambled. You can feel that, right? So when you're walking with your chin up, eyes forward, knowing exactly where you're going, people will sense that as well. And they'll say, man, this is a guy who's confident. This is a guy who knows what he wants, right? A guy that knows what he wants. That's extremely important, especially in today's world if you want to make it somewhere, is being a guy that knows what he wants. And that first step is walking like you know where you want to go. Very simple. You can start doing this today. It's free. Start doing it today, and you'll see that your energy starts to trend in an upward direction after a few tries, right? It's gonna take some practice, but you'll get it. Now, the second thing that I'm going to preach for forever and ever, because this has changed my life, is getting in shape, okay? Getting in shape. Getting in shape is not that hard. It is not that hard. It's eating clean foods for the most part. You can do 80-20. You can do 90-10. And when I say 90-10, 80-20, 80% clean, 20% fun, 90% clean, 10% fun, right? Depending on where your starting point is, you might have to lower that fun percentage a little bit, but you can still have a little bit of fun, right? But that's besides the point. The point is you want to get into shape. You want to be a guy that shows that he has discipline, that he has consistency, right? Because when people see your physique, yeah, they see the aesthetics, they see the muscle on the frame. Especially as a short guy, you can look way bigger with less muscle because you have a smaller frame. But you want people to see that you're disciplined, that you're consistent, right? People want those kinds of people in their life. They want those kinds of guys in their life. People that can show up, people that will do what they have to do no matter how hard or how they feel about it. Everybody's attracted to people like that, right? And the people that aren't, they're where they're at for a reason, because they don't have discipline, they don't have consistency, so their life is just a mess. But the guy who's disciplined, the guy who's consistent, he might not be where he wants to be, but he's on a path upward. He might hit a couple roadblocks on the way, but he's gonna get right through them, and he's gonna continue going up on an upward path towards where he wants to be. And that's what your physique signals, all right? It's not about just what it looks like to the eye. It looks great, right? We all love to see an aesthetic physique, but it's about what it signals to people. This guy works hard. This guy's disciplined. This guy knows what it means to suffer. I don't even like to use the word suffer because working out and building a physique is not really suffering. But this guy knows how to put himself through pain in order to achieve a greater result. That's what fitness is. Putting yourself through pain. And sometimes it's more physical than mental. Sometimes it's more mental than physical, depending on who you are as a person. But this guy knows how to put himself through pain in order to achieve a greater result. And especially when women see that, they're gonna know that you're somebody who can suffer when things get hard, and you're still gonna come out on top. And that's what makes a great partner in a relationship, whether you're a man or a woman, is somebody who can suffer positively. Suffer in a way where they're not making the suffering worse, they're improving it for everybody around them and for themselves. So building that physique is gonna signal all those things that I just said. And that's gonna help you build that aura as a short guy, especially, right? Again, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just bullshitting you. The reason I know this stuff, the reason I'm able to say this with conviction is because I live it. I live it every single day. Those two things that I just told you, I do that every single day. And I see the outcomes in my life have brought me to literally this point where I'm at right now, where I have everything that I need in life, everything that I actually want in life, which is not much. I'm not a guy who wants a lot of things. I just want peace and stability. Cool. I'm good with that. But I have what I want and need because I was able to do those two things. And it's not just doing those two things that is going to make you successful, or whatever your definition of success looks like, but it's going to allow you to have the energy and the outcomes in the world that are going to lead you to that spot that you want to be. All right. So the last thing, and this is going to be dependent on each person, finances, things like that, of course, but it's developing experiences in life. Okay. If you want to be, if you're a short guy and you want to have as much aura as possible, as much positive energy as possible, as much magnetic energy as possible, you have to build experiences in life. You have to develop experiences. You have to do things that most people don't do. Like if you're doing things that most people don't do and you're able to talk about those experiences, most people are going to be intrigued by that. They're going to be attracted by that because they're like, damn, I could never do that. You know how many people I talk to and I tell them that I was in the military? Damn, I could never do that. Or that I did bodybuilding? Damn, I could never do that. Right? Almost everybody I speak to or I've spoken to about those things tells me the exact same thing. I can never do that. I love food too much. I can never do the military. I love my freedom too much. And I have a plethora of experiences and stories that I learned from those two experiences alone let alone all the other experiences I've had in life. But those have allowed me to develop myself as a man, develop my character, develop my resilience. All these traits that people are attracted to, I've developed from putting myself in uncomfortable situations and building experience in life and wisdom in life. I'm 25 years old. The amount of people that tell me that I speak and articulate and I have the mind of somebody who was 40 or 30, 40, 50, whatever it might be, that I'm older than I give, that my energy is older than I actually am. I take that as a compliment, because most 25-year-olds, most people in my age range, they're not really that interesting. They're doing the same things that everybody else is doing. So why would it's not attractive. It doesn't make anything interesting, right? If you want to be interesting, if you want to be a magnetic short guy, because this video's for short guys especially, a lot of you guys are down in the dumps and don't want to do anything with your life because you think your height defines you. But coming from somebody who's 5'4", I've been 5'4" my entire life pretty much. Developing experiences was one of the best things I've decided to do because it allowed me to mature faster, and people are gravitating towards that. They look at me and they're like, that's not the typical 25-year-old kid that's out on the street drinking every weekend and doing drugs every weekend and things of that nature. They're like, that's a 25-year-old kid who's disciplined, who got his own thing going, who's ahead for his age. And people like that. So that's something that I was able to do from building experiences in life, making mistakes, failing, learning, right? Failure isn't failure. Failure is just learning. What you do after you fail is what is going to define the trajectory of your life. What you do after you take an L is going to determine whether you stay with an L or whether you can turn that L into a W. That's all life is. Taking those lessons, taking those experiences, negative and positive, and using those experiences to shape your future the way that you want it to be shaped. So, walking straight, walking with your chest up, chin up, building a magnetic physique. I'm just like, building a magnetic physique, building experiences. And then one last point that I'm going to make, pretty simple, I'm not going to harp on it too long, is but learning how to speak and taking care of your appearance. Okay, read some books, learn how to speak, learn how to slow down. If you need to do a sales job to get, that's what I did. I was working at a Honda dealership at 18 years old selling cars. I originally went in for an interview to be a like one of the people that calls you on the phone and says, are you interested in this car? You want to come take a look at the car, and then sets an appointment. I went in for an interview to be that person, and I walked out as a salesperson at 18 because I was able to speak during my interview and articulate myself. And the manager was like, why don't we just put this guy selling cars? And I sold a few cars. I wasn't the greatest salesman. I was 18 years old. I was still getting my feet wet. But that was my first experience in sales. And I realized, like, whoa, if I can learn how to speak and how to persuade people and learn how to get a point across, I can get people to do anything pretty much. Obviously, things that are beneficial to them and to me, or as a group, as a collective, reciprocal beneficial, or it's very reciprocally beneficial. I don't even know if that's a word, but I just made it up. But it benefits both parties. But anyways, that was my first experience in sales. And then I started doing training after I got out of the Marine Corps. And that's when I really started to turn it up. I did door-to-door sales for solar company, which was like that. If you want to talk about learning how to do sales, go do door-to-door sales. When you have to knock on somebody's door, you don't know who's going to answer, they don't know who the fuck you are, and you have to persuade them to buy into something that you just taught them about in 10 minutes after meeting them for the first time. I did that, and I did pretty well. I didn't like the job, but I did pretty well. And I've been doing sales pretty much my entire life. because I've realized that life is all about sales. You want to get into a relationship, you have to sell yourself. Whether you think that's a bad thing or not, you have to sell yourself when you're trying to get into a relationship or into a friendship or into any kind of partnership, anything like that. You have to be able to sell yourself. And you cannot sell yourself if you don't know how to speak. If you don't know how to articulate what you're thinking, slow down and actually put it into words. Looking at the person directly in the eye as you explain your message or what you're trying to say. So if you do those 4 things, as a short man, I promise you, people are not going to care about your height. They're going to look past that. It's not even going to matter because your presence and your energy is going to overpower your height. So do those things starting today. Like I said, if you need to learn how to speak and you don't want to read books, go get a sales job. Who knows, you might end up making more money than you ever have in your entire life just by learning how to speak a little bit. But anyways, link will be in the description. If you're a short guy and you want to transform your mindset and your physique, book a one-on-one call. I'll help you out. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next one.